if you're in New York City, hold on. This heat, like I imagine, has to stop eventually. For the past couple of weeks, New York City has been just being beaten over the skull with this oppressive heat wave. Like every day I've been leaving the apartment, I have just instantly been just drenched in a thin layer of sweat. It's the kind of heat where even the slightest provocation I'm gonna overreact to. It's the kind of heat that leaves you feeling forsaken. And I don't know if it's the choice of buildings I'm deciding to go to or in or not, but I can't escape. A lot of the buildings I've been in don't have air conditioning, and it's a real test of my mental will and sanity. But I've been hanging on. And it's interesting that I bring this up now because on the show this week I have comedian David Piccolomini, and Piccolomini, I went to his house to record this, and we, in his living room, because doing podcasting in New York City, you kind of have to do what you can to control the ambient noise. You're going to have a lot of bleed-in just from the city regardless. But we for 2 hours, because I did his podcast Tinder Tales and he did my podcast, and we record them back to back. We, in a unair conditioned apartment, sat and tried to talk to each other and hold a conversation. And I'd be very interested to hear how it sounds, because at a certain point I'm pretty sure my brain might have started melting, and we'll see how it turns out. Also, while I want to take this second to plug, I'm going to be doing my solo show again, Laughing Through the Sad, at the Unicorn in New York City on September 9th. It's a $10 ticket at the door. I might do some advanced tickets. I'll let you know. I'll keep you posted if we do that. But otherwise, it's going to be $10 at the door at the Unicorn at 8 p.m. on September 9th. So I hope to see you guys out there. I've been working on the show for a while now, and it's really come together. So you'll get your money's worth if you choose to come out. And as always, you can subscribe on iTunes, and you can listen on Stitcher also. I'd greatly appreciate it. And if you like the show, feel free to tell a friend. And let's go to my chat with David Piccolomini. Thanks, everyone.
Until you were like, yeah, we need to switch seats because now I need to be in the host seat. And I was like, yeah, you're right.
You don't know exactly, because like I can't continue to interview you from the guest chair, you know.
Especially when I've established in my brain as the guest chair.
Exactly. Well, I do because I have the same thing set up. If anyone were to ever like come to my place to interview me, I would want to do the same thing. The reason that I do that is when Ira Glass was on WTF, Marin went to This American Life's offices, and he had Ira sit in the guest chair, and he sat in Ira's chair. It's like it's a
psychological thing.
Exactly.
Though.
It's like establishing the dynamics.
Well, because especially Ira Glass, who's like recorded probably 1,200 interviews from that chair, is going to look and go, and it's going to try and interview Mark just out of natural habit.
Exactly. yeah, exactly. It's just like, oh, well, this is just what I do, so I'm gonna keep talking. Have you found, like, since you've been doing a podcast, like, that you have to consciously like listen?
Yeah. Oh, 100%.
Yeah, that was my big thing too. Is like, because some especially like some comedian podcasts could just be like, oh, like, who is the host going to talk at this week?
Yep.
I want to hear who they talk against and express their views.
The host is going to talk at this person, making it weird. No, he's a much better interviewer now. Okay.
He's. I think he's kind of again grown that ability to hear, and I think and maybe this is just me, or maybe this is a comic thing, is like we're just so used to everyone listens to me, so then you kind of got to switch gears when you're going to listen to other people,
or just dominate. Like I'm just used to like not trying to dominate a conversation, but like being like, I have so many thoughts, I have to put them out there, I got to let everybody know these thoughts, and it's like, no, Dave, other people have thoughts too, listen.
Yeah, and I've always been like very laid back. I like to just slide my thought out in between the spaces of when people.
It's more
are
about the
talking.
thoughts you're not hearing. You do jazz
Exactly.
talking.
No, I had a problem with that too. Is where I was like, I would say things and think that people were just aware of the information I had in my head when I was younger, but people aren't in my head.
Yeah.
So I wrote a lot. I wrote a lot of papers.
Look, there's a lot of joy in not having people in your head. So maybe it's a blessing, because if you have too many people in your head, they lock you up. Make you take a lot of pills for it.
Exactly. So you're from Philly, Dave?
Okay, technically I'm from Wilmington, Delaware.
Okay, no, you're right. Yeah,
But,
we talked about this.
Yeah, no, Philly is a thing. Like, I say Philly a lot of times because if I say Wilmington, Delaware, that's a lot of explanation.
Right, there's a lot of like, oh, what is associated with Delaware? I do not.
And you're like, nothing. No, nothing. It's Philly. It's Philly. The only difference in mindset between Philadelphia and like Delaware, like Wilmington, it's still that same like East Coast kind of attitude to things. It's a little less aggressive, and everything you can drive to in about 10 minutes.
Right, because
Like,
it's a small state.
It's a small state, and Wilmington is a small area. Like, I could get to anywhere I wanted to in 15 minutes. But the thing is, like there's a college town that's 25 minutes away, 30 tops, and that's considered far. Like, you want me to drive all the way down to Newark to do this thing? It's like, and now that like, and after being in Philly, I'm like, I blink and I'm there. It's fine. Like,
Exactly.
like hours, like it's so, because everything is so close by, you spend your entire life being like, it's a 10-minute drive to the supermarket, it's a 10-minute drive to the movie theater, it's a 10-minute drive to the theater, it's a 10-minute drive to everywhere.
I found that I was in Oklahoma last month for a friend's wedding, and everything was 15 minutes away.
Really? Oklahoma? But I mean,
in Oklahoma, which you'd think would be really stretched out, and it feels really stretched out when I was driving around. But yeah, everything's like 15 minutes away.
that is strange to think of. I guess it's just like clusters.
Yeah, there's clusters of activity, and then
it's like 3 hours of nothing, 15 minutes away from everywhere.
Yeah, exactly. There's like big centers of activity that kind of punctuate the wide open spaces. So Wilmington, Delaware. So it's you.
Yeah,
it's sort of like a less aggressive
Philadelphia. I guess. I mean, that would be the way I would describe it. The thing is, Delaware only has 3 counties. The whole state has 3 counties. And the top county is like a northern state. It's basically like a suburb of Pennsylvania. That's how it feels. It feels like the suburbs outside of Philly.
Okay.
That's how all of these feel. But then if you go down to the southern 2 counties, it is the South.
Yeah.
All of a sudden, Dover, Delaware, which is the capital, is just like they've got a racetrack. It's like wife beaters wearing wife beaters. Like just all the like chickens outnumber Delawareans down there. It's just crazy southern plantation is the wrong word, but like planting, farming.
Oh, I know exactly what you mean.
Agricultural cities.
Yeah, absolutely. I know exactly what you mean, because in Maryland, like I grew up and went to college near Baltimore, which is, you think very...
I actually went to college in Maryland too, in Elkton.
In Elkton.
Yeah, I went to Cecil College, yeah.
Oh, nice. Yeah, I know that. I know Elkton. I think there was a one-nighter I did out there a couple of times way back when I started.
God, I'm trying to think if they don't have anything there now, but...
I don't think so. And then, because I never thought being from Maryland, I was from the South, but my girlfriend from New York thinks I'm from the South. And you ask people that are from like Florida, no way am I from the South.
I made the mistake at a stand-up show in Maryland. I was in, I forget, like some Albemarle maybe? I don't know.
Upper Marlboro?
Upper Marlboro?
Yeah, Upper Marlboro.
Maybe. I don't know. It was somewhere, I was like outside of Baltimore. Somewhere.
Was it Drink Till We're Funny?
No. It was a different show. It was a different show. It was like in a strip mall kind of area, like just in a pizza shop there that they had. They had an upstairs room, and I did the comedy show, and I was just like, I made a joke. I forget. It was like a race joke or something. I was like, don't groan. You guys are from the South. You guys had slaves or something. And then my girlfriend at the time was from Georgia, like originally from Georgia, lived in Maryland. She was like, this is not the South.
Oh, yeah.
And I was like, what? It's the South. And she's like, no. This is like mid-Atlantic. This is not the South. And I was like, all right, fair enough. I did not know, because everybody got real weird when I called them the South.
Exactly. People from Maryland don't think they're from the South.
Oh, boy, their accent would disagree with that.
I know, especially if you go out to Western Maryland.
Oh, Western Maryland. Oh, my God. It is a bog. It's a swamp.
Absolutely. I did, one of my first gigs was at this bar in Hagerstown, and one of the heckles at the early show was, Hagerstown, don't leave Hagerstown. And that's how the guy sounded. And the only things near where the show was a high school and then a prison. And then everyone from the early show was at the second show. So
You had to do all new material?
Right. So I just insulted them.
They went to 2 shows?
Yeah, they just stayed around for 2 shows.
That's
so
how empty the town is.
Yeah, so I bomb with my Dimitri Martin-esque absurd one-liners I was doing at the time, and then I decided for the second show I would just like go after them, like my idea of going after them. So for like a minute and a half.
And you smell.
Yeah, so a minute and a half I said, the show's at the bar, and then there's the high school, and then there's the prison. So it's the place everyone starts, and then the 2 places everyone ends up. And they liked that.
That's a good joke. That's a solid joke.
Yeah, and then I proceeded to bomb with the same material again because I didn't have anything else at the time.
Oh, I like that. You went after him a little bit. You're like, hey, guys, remember how you didn't like these jokes 2 hours ago? They're coming back again.
I like when I like exactly like me going after people is like I'll hit someone really hard. And then I go, oh, I'm sorry. It's like I know. That was a good burn.
I feel like we have a real Lenny and George thing going on right now.
Oh, dude, you and I could totally be
grapes of wrathing it up.
Yeah, grapes of wrapping it up, or like if I'm gonna kill of mice and men. I'm gonna kill a bunny, and then you're gonna shoot me in the back of the head.
Look, just the amount of like weird, because I have a lot of weird aggression, but it's like I don't know. Like I found the way to vent it a lot of times is like I don't feel a lot of the meanness. Like I've been told I'm mean. I can kind of see why, but I don't feel it in my heart. I don't know what I mean. Like, you know what I mean? Like it's just like I like poking at people and like sending barbs at people, but I don't really. There's not a lot of hate actually there in the heart of it when I'm hitting people.
No, I was picking up on that a bit when I was doing your podcast.
Yeah.
So I picked up a little bit on the he's taking some shots at me right now, but I don't think he thinks he's taking shots at me.
I knew I was taking shots, but there was no malice behind it.
No, exactly.
I held back on a couple because I was like, man, we don't have the rapport where I can just keep taking these shots.
Right, we have to know each other a bit longer before you can get those extra couple in.
Yeah, I was like, yo, Dave, hold him back. Let's not be a dick as much as we are.
No, exactly. But that's how you communicate is through gentle ribbing.
Yeah, it's all just pokes. It's not actual like attacks, but it's like, hey, you're poking me. I'm like, yeah, because it's funny.
Yeah, exactly. I'm wondering if that's a Philly Mid-Atlantic thing. Like, is that? Did you learn that's how you communicate early?
I don't know. Like, honestly, probably from my dad. I don't
what was
know
he like?
Can't give I don't know if he can give a genuine. He tries to give a genuine compliment, but now they feel fake. Or when he gives a genuine compliment, it's been when he's been drinking. Yeah.
Okay.
All my family's divorced. My mom and dad got divorced when I was 5. My grandparents all got divorced before I was like born, basically.
Oh, really?
Yeah. At one point I had 9 grandparents. I think I'm down to 7, 6. Depends if you count dead or like basically not in touch with the family. I'm like at 6.
There's like technically grandparents and then like actual
like people who love me. Yeah, there's like people who love me and people who are by affiliation through law grandparents. Because they're the stepfather of my stepfather. Does that really count?
Right. Wow.
We visited him in Florida one time when I was 13 or so, and then haven't seen him since. That's fine. He used to send oranges. That was about as far as we got as a close relationship. One time he literally sent a card to my sister, and her name is Danielle, and the card was addressed to Mary. Another one of his grandkids. Danielle's birthday, Mary's name. Like that was
Right.
like he just was just like, shit, it's one of them. It's one of them spawns of spawns. I gotta send a thing to. We still cashed the check. It was great.
Absolutely. So you didn't have too much of a close. Did you have a close? You didn't really have a close family growing up.
No, I actually like that's the thing is like me and my mom get along great. I love my mom. She's a great person. She inspires me in the way that she works really hard at a lot of things. My mom, when she was growing up, was my mom's dad was an engineer for DuPont, which is a big company in Delaware. It's one of the biggest companies in Delaware.
That's a chemical company.
Chemical company. So he's an engineer for them. So he's like doing like chemical engineering and all this stuff. And then his vision started to go at a very early age, like late 20s.
Interesting. Is that work related or
no? Just macular degeneration. His eyes just started falling apart, and it was early enough that he couldn't. There was nothing he could do about it. He probably ignored the problem for too long. And so he got fired from that job because it was before you could not get fired for that. And then he started working at a restaurant doing like cooking and soups and stuff because he could do that without great eyesight. But he became a violent alcoholic and like
because of the loss of his sight.
Yeah, because he it was probably like he became very depressed because he was a smart guy who couldn't do anything about it. He got fired from his job where he was making a lot of money, and was like consigned to being the soup smith for a local restaurant. And he was married and he became a huge alcoholic. An abusive alcoholic, and he went to prison. I don't know exactly what he went to prison for, and I've not been told, and I'm fine not knowing, because he was a sweet guy at the end of his days. So when he got out of prison, he was mostly blind, but he was like a sweet guy. He was always fascinated by things. He could have been he very much had that scientist creator mind.
Right, which I imagine you would have with if you're working in.
That's what I'm saying. So he had
exactly.
he had that kind of mind. So he's always fascinated by stuff, wanted to do projects, but the loss of his sight and then the way our society was built in that time fell apart terribly. So my mom grew up poor and like in a kind of a shitty household.
Right.
And
were you alive when he went to prison?
No, I don't know. I wasn't alive when he went to prison. I was alive when he came out of prison.
Oh, wow. So you were born while your dad was in prison?
No, stepdad or grandfather.
Grandfather, sorry.
No, my dad. Although this might be a depressing podcast.
That's okay if it is.
I mean, I'll be open and honest about all of it. My first memory, my real first memory, is when my mom was picking my dad up from the drunk tank. And my dad got into the car. It was me, my brother, and my sister. We were all born 2 years apart. So I was like 4 or 5 years old. And my dad is just screaming at my mom about all this bullshit he's been caught up in and how it's not his fault and like all this craziness. And I remember that like incredibly.
Yeah.
As my mom is picking him up from the drunk tank. He definitely got a DUI or something. He wasn't allowed to drive home. They picked him up. They sent him to that. And he's screaming. And that's my first memory.
Wow.
Yeah.
So kind of born into chaos.
Well, I mean, I guess born into chaos. I do exist in chaos, and I like being in, like, I feel the most calm when it's chaotic.
That's really interesting to me because I'm the exact polar opposite of that. If like even a few things are amiss, I'm like, I can't handle any of this.
Oh no! If everything's calm, I am bored and confused and want to play games because games make sense to me. Some of my best shows in Philly were in rooms that were awful. They were just mean, bad rooms. And I would come in and be like, oh, hey, let me just go into the eye of the storm and take control of this. One time I won a comedy contest that I was the last person to go up. And it was movie-esque in like literally every person bombed. Like there was a guy who won the biggest competition in Philly and he had a terrible set. And everybody was having terrible sets. And
so you're going to go up and have your Bernie Mac, I'm not scared of you.
I yelled. It was in a bar. It was the bar. First of all, terrible room for comedy. It was too wide. The ceilings were too high. Not enough people in there for it to be good. And there were a group of teenagers there. There was a music open mic happening afterwards. Because why not? For $100 competition, why not have a music open mic afterwards?
Why not?
So there's a bunch of teenagers, early 20s kids there, waiting for their friends to play their songs. And then there were literally like 6 people in their 70s which apparently one of the comedians brought his mom and dad. He was in his 40s, and he brought his mom and dad, and they brought two friends. So they were like people in their 60s and 70s,
Okay.
and other people there. And the first half of my set was just yelling at all of them. Like I was just like, "Hey, you guys in the back, did you guys know there was a comedy show?" They're like, "No," and I'm like, "You're excused. You can turn your heads. Just don't talk that loud." But now they're paying attention because they're like, "What the fuck is this guy talking about?"
Right.
And they yelled at the old people. I'm like, "Guys, you don't have enough time left to be judgy." But I got him. I kind of won him over. And then I started riffing with them, and I riffed with the other people. But it was like the chaos of this room of like teenagers talking and like 70-year-olds being shitty to me. I'm like, yeah, I'm in for this. I'm ready. I'm trained for this moment.
Right. Because you'd be like, yeah, this is a Tuesday for me.
Yeah.
Everything is amiss, and people are yelling, and people are upset, and no one is, and I have to make myself the center of attention.
Yeah, well, that's anytime, anywhere. But
the business we're in kind of is dictated on that, I think.
well, since the age of 5, I knew I wanted to be in theater.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Let's talk a bit
Oh, yeah,
about
because
this.
you got your degree in theater too. Yeah.
Yes.
But yeah, so I was like, or maybe it was like 7. It might have been 7.
Okay, so you're growing up in Wilmington, Delaware. Dad's drunk. Grandpa's in jail.
Yeah, well, one of my grandparents. I
One of your
had a lot of amazing. Like before I shit on all my grandparents, I have amazing grandparents.
Okay.
For the most part, at the time 6, now 5. One grandmother died a couple years ago, but have all been like great people. My grandmom and my granddad on my dad's side, or my grandmom, my dad's mom, and her husband. Because everybody got divorced.
Right.
So my dad's mom and her husband, who is just a grandfather to me, they're all grandparents to me. I don't feel that separation. Have been nothing but amazing to me my entire life. They're amazing people. My mom's mom, also amazing to me. My mom's husband kind of got me started in comedy where I am today. Like, he got me exposed to The Far Side, Weird Al, all these things, because he's a weird dude. And
that's
so he
good.
just would get me all this weird stuff. I have a James Brown record that it's a painting of James Brown on a record that's real weird and crazy. He got that for me. He exposed me to a lot of early comedy, George Carlin, all this stuff.
That's good. You need that person.
Yes.
You need that person that's not an authority figure to introduce you into the world outside of the authority they're trying to maintain.
He's almost like a fun uncle in terms of like his style of things. He's exposed me to a bunch of cool beers now. Yeah, like a really cool person. My dad's dad and his mom, who she's the one that passed away, very religious. But I mean, always were super nice to me, and always, I mean, they come from more of a conservative Italian side, so I don't
Okay.
get along as well with them. But
Okay, yeah.
yeah, I mean, then again, but I mean, that shaped me who I am today. I grew up super conservative religious.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I know. This all weird polyamorous crazy sex animal.
Right. Well, part of it makes sense to me, and I know we're kind of jumping all over the place, but we're gonna
That's fine.
get back to it.
Whatever you need to do.
Because the polyamory sex thing, that's either, I think if you don't.
For the record, I am in a monogamous relationship right now, but before that, I was in a lot of polyamorous relationships.
Right. So maybe I wonder if that's a reaction to your upbringing, to your
Sort of.
religious upbringing.
I can kind of explain it.
Okay. Because in my experience, some of the most religious girls I've met have also been the most sexually adventurous.
It's just funny hearing you say the word sexually adventurous that way.
Right. Because my act is very clean, and I never talk about really dirty stuff unless it's brought up first.
you seem uncomfortable with a lot of sex stuff.
I don't know if I don't think I'm a prude, but I definitely think I'm conscious of not wanting to appear perverted.
Okay, so no, no, I don't like. I'm not saying like you're like weird about having sex, but in terms of discuss, like I'm very frank about all of it. I can talk about any sexual topic. A lot of my act gets sexual. A lot of everything about it. And the thing is, it is probably partially a rebellion. I would say that in that the idea that I don't like that there were a lot of rules created to control people. That's what religion essentially is.
No, yeah, and
That's why you
religion
don't-
at its worst is a set of rules trying to control people.
Religion at its best is a set of rules trying to control people.
In what way? Because when I think of religion at its best, and I'm not a
Go ahead.
believer, I think about the parts that like make people like donate food or like help somebody in need. I think of that stuff. But
Yeah.
I don't think you necessarily
No.
need religion for that. But I think that does drive some people. When I
Right.
think of religion at its worst, I think of like people who use it to justify hatred and violence,
Bombing and all that other stuff. But here's the thing.
Exactly.
Is at its core, it's controlling people.
Okay.
That's what it is. It's using your fear of death as a control method to get you to do the things they want you to do. Now, whether or not it is a good thing, now good people and bad people are both religious.
Yes.
I don't.
And then also your fear of what happens after death. Maybe.
That's fear. Well, that's what I mean by fear of death.
Okay.
Like, you're not afraid of dying because you know what happens after.
Right.
If we knew what happened after death, there'd be way more suicides because no one would be afraid of dying.
Yeah, I definitely agree with that.
But but the thing of getting people to not eat pork in a time of where we don't have great cleansing systems makes sense. You don't eat pork at that time because it's like they roll around in the mud all day. We can't really clean the meat that well.
And you get people to not eat it by just saying, "Oh,
God told you not to eat
God
it.
told you
Shrimp,
not to eat it.
shellfish, all that stuff where you can't clean it properly.
yeah,
Or you don't know
get
how to
very
cook-
bad shellfish. or
Bad shellfish
fish,
will kill you.
You'll die. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. But people, so that's where all those rules come from. Like, it's like not mixing dairy because you don't know how to put it. We didn't have pasteurization processes at the time. You know what I mean? There's all this
Yeah.
shit that like is basically just control. It's all control methods. That's
Yeah.
all it is. But at the time, they didn't have a way to be like, hey, scientifically, this is what it is that you shouldn't be doing because of this.
Right.
They were just like, hey, God told you not to do it, so we told you not to do it. Great. How about you do that? Like, everybody wants to ignore the parts of religion where it's like, hey, this is where we sell slaves.
No. Yeah. Exactly.
Like, I've read Exodus, and there are so many rules on what to do with slaves. But no one carries on those rules because a country made it illegal.
Right. So you grew up Catholic?
No, Baptist.
Baptist.
Yeah,
What's that
I
then?
rooted for George Bush in the first election. Yeah, because in 2000 I was in 8th grade. Not to date this or myself too much, but
You were in 8th grade in 2000?
yeah, 99, 2000 I was in 8th grade. Yeah, and I was actively rooting for George Bush because Bill Clinton was a monster because he got a blowjob.
Oh, yeah.
Huge monster, doesn't respect his wife, all this terrible shit about him. Yeah, I was actively rooting for George Bush versus Al Gore, old boring Gore.
No, yeah. I relate to that because my parents were were conservative, so I was brought up with the Bushes, and then and I didn't learn to think for myself until college, like because my first girlfriend in college was also conservative, so we would have these conversations of like, oh yeah, you got to go in and take care of that problem in Iraq, and then you know I saw.
Oh my God, if you actually look into all the Iraq stuff, it's terrifying.
Oh, yeah.
How mismanaged everything was. They brought in people that just agreed with party lines that had no experience. So they literally lost $2 billion. Lost. They don't know where it went. It just disappeared into a slush fund. Like, nobody has any idea where it went. Or people do, and they can't say because they would be put in prison for where it went.
Right.
It's insane the amount of money just disappeared.
Yeah, just no idea where it went.
No idea. And like they didn't rebuild anything, and they immediately got rid of all the political stability in the country by because there was a political party that everybody joined, because if you didn't join it, you would get in trouble, basically. So they would get rid of all the people that were in those political parties, even though most of those people would have switched party. They're like, I don't care about.
Yeah, and then you create like a vacuum of power, and someone is going to want that power.
Yeah, exactly.
So and then that's how you create
like the Taliban, or you give the Taliban credence, and then ISIS. Yeah, all of that stuff. It was insane, the mismanagement. And then also partially part of the problem is that a lot of Iraq was they were working in factories, but they weren't actually working in factories. They were just given social security money. Like Iraq had a minimum wage, or like not a minimum income, but like a lot of people were just making a minimum income just for showing up to work.
Okay.
So they didn't know actually how to do all the work.
Yeah, they were just title.
They were just
alone.
there.
Uh-huh.
And not like, but so all of a sudden those people are out of power, and that's how ISIS starts forming, because all of a sudden all these people are out of power, and all these people who were military are suddenly relieved of their duties because of their ties to Saddam, even though they weren't actually with Saddam. It's like when England swears fealty to the Queen. It'd be like if we had to kick out everybody who swears fealty to the Queen in England.
Right.
They'd be like, yeah, we're just doing it because she's there. We have to. It's part of the game. It's part of tradition.
Right. Yeah,
we're not actually
exactly.
with her.
Yeah, we're just kind of going through the motions.
Yeah, exactly. So it's like if you did that man, we have taken a turn.
No. This is no, because I'm gonna try to trace this back to.
Go ahead. Yeah.
Okay. So I imagine are your political
I'm
beliefs
basically a
at all
socialist.
tied in? Is there any connection to your religious upbringing in any way?
So I feel like I have some stuff that still is like in terms of like how to be a decent person. I am weirdly enough, for as blatant as I am and everything else, I have a lot of I have a lot of hard times being forward with someone I don't know at all.
Right.
Like, I watch guys like approach girls in like settings where there's like, and they'll just get rejected and they don't care and do all this stuff. And I've gotten better at that in terms of like handling rejection, but like there's still a terrifying fear of rejection. There's still a lot of things that like come from like being raised in a situation where you're like kissing was crazy. You know what I mean? So like, I mean, a lot of that has been wiped over, but I have to establish a rapport with someone before I'm making a move, before I'm doing any of this stuff.
Yeah.
Unless-
So you feel comfortable.
Yeah, I have to feel comfortable, and sometimes I have trouble feeling comfortable in those situations. Also, hierarchies is something that's been very much ingrained in me, even though a lot of times intellectually I realize it's probably bullshit. Mm-hmm. But if I feel like someone's above me, it's very hard for me to talk to them.
Interesting. Did you ever get a thing of like, why are you above me? Did you ever get did you get that questioning like? Do you recall a point where you started thinking, I think this is bullshit? Do you recall a moment?
Oh, you mean with religion? I can tell you the exact moment. Or there are two moments. I can tell you two moments that happened. Okay. So this one, it doesn't matter. Hold up this bag. I called it the pen test because I would usually use a pen. In that the idea, I would ask this to like religious leaders all the time.
Okay.
Because it bothered me because I'm a very logical person. So I believed in God till 21.
Okay.
So I was, even after I got into high school and got into college, I was still believing in God. But I had this question that no one could answer, which is, I'm holding this bag in my hand. Do you know where I'm going to set it down?
Uh-huh.
Yeah, and of course you don't know.
Yeah, I don't know. But I'm agreeing with your question.
Yeah, no, I'm saying, of course you don't know. But then God would know.
Right.
So how is there free will?
Yeah. And
the closest I ever got to a real answer was someone, this college girl who was like very deeply religious, was just like, well, for God, time doesn't work on a continuum. Like God doesn't process time like we do, so he knows all the information at once. I'm like, but if he knows all the information, then we're experiencing it slower, but he's already seen the movie.
right.
And then there's also the idea of you have anything with omnipotence is a problem for me.
Okay.
Because if you have omnipotence, which means all the knowledge, every single piece of knowledge, you can expand that logically so far that like the idea that he created Adam and he created every sperm in Adam's dumb ball sack.
Right.
And he created Eve from the bone, and he knew every piece of bone that was creating Eve and creating all her shitty eggs. And then he knew every sperm, he knew the exact lineage of that sperm throughout eternity.
Yeah.
That doesn't make sense to me, because that means that he planned because then there's no free will, because he planned everything down to the molecular DNA level.
Yeah, and it gets to that point of where what you have to believe for it to be
You have
true.
to shut your brain off to believe.
Yeah.
But that's not actually where I lost faith, believe it or not.
Okay.
That's where I went.
I do agree with you that when I started thinking logically, it's like, oh, none of this happened.
Yeah. Oh, well, it basically just made me a Calvinist, which is a Calvinist believes in predetermination, which means God has a book at the end of the day that tells him where everybody goes.
Okay.
And I was like, oh, we're just living out a play. Fine. Great. I can intellectualize that. That's great. Everything, or I forget. I was like, there's always a plan. I would say that. Like, I'd be like, well, everything's chaos, but there's always a plan.
Yeah.
And that would kind of reassure me. And then at 21, my aunt died on my father's side. My dad's dad's step sister or stepdaughter, because it was my step grandmother's kid.
Right.
Because both they were divorced and got remarried, so they like married two families together. Yeah, Italians, great. They don't talk about it. They were always together, according to the gospel.
Exactly.
But anyway, so they're together, and my aunt suddenly, like 6 months, just like got a rare disease, bloated up, died. I'm sorry, I just did the
just
how
the
casual
blow, the just whoop,
and imploded. Yeah, and it was sad and everything, but I wasn't that close with her. The closest we ever had been was we bonded over South Park, in that my conservative family mostly didn't like South Park, but she liked it, and she wasn't really the religious one. She was like kind of the rebel of the family.
Yeah.
And then she died, and I was at the funeral, and my other aunt gave this beautiful, moving speech about her, about the person she was, and it was this amazing, one of the best speeches I've ever heard. And I was like, man, I wish I gotten to know that person.
Yeah.
And then the pastor goes up right after her and goes, well, Sue, she wasn't much for she wasn't much for religion. She didn't really go to church a lot. But at the end of the days, I met with her a couple times, and at the end of it, I converted her, and I think we got her. Basically, that's not exactly what he said, but that was the gist. It was like score one for the Jesus team. We got her,
right?
And it was like,
it's what? Like we met quota.
Yeah, we met quota. She's in heaven now. We did it, and I was like, what the fuck? Are you serious? Are you guys believing this bullshit? That's horrible. I was so mad, and then I looked over my grandparents. My grandparents were so reassured at that.
Holy,
like they were right there together. Like, oh my god, she is in heaven. That's great.
Yeah,
and like they my grandmother had lost 2 kids at that time before she died. Like she had lost 2 grandparents, or she had lost 2 kids. Like one, like 20 years ago, like when he was like 17, 19 or whatever, some young age. And then and it was sudden, and it was like, and they were so reassured. I was like, oh, some people need this.
Yeah.
I don't. And then it just all fell out. Like it just immediately dropped. Like the whole building just crashed in on itself.
Yeah.
It was like my religious 9/11. It just everything was changed after that day.
Yeah. And did you feel freed by that, or did you feel?
Yeah, I was very relieved. It was just all of a sudden it was just like, whew, I'm done. Okay.
Yeah. I can take this weight off.
I can build my own philosophy now. I can build my own theories on why people do things. I can build all this stuff up from the ground up.
Yeah.
But that building had to go down first before I could build anything.
Exactly. You had to destroy everything before you could.
But it was relieving. It was weird at the reception because I felt so free of all that, and I couldn't say anything to anyone.
Right. No. I remember when I first started thinking, oh, I don't have to believe this. It was like I had a secret. I was like, ha, ha, ha.
Yeah, exactly. Oh, so
like a great secret.
It was weird because I went to a Baptist school from basically 3 years old. I started school when I was 3 because I started in the 4-year-old class. But we started, early September. My birthday's late September.
Okay.
So I started late 3 up until I was 13. I went to the same school. I went to 10 years at this Baptist school.
Wow, yeah.
And that Baptist school was the downstairs of the church that she died in. So I saw my pastor/history teacher after that. And I was like, you're a much smaller man than I remember. And like all of that, like everything got like the principal of the school was the pastor's wife. And she was kind of a tyrant.
Yeah.
And like when I saw her as an adult, I was like, oh, this place is so much smaller. You're not.
The hierarchy's crumbling.
It crumbled completely. Yeah, everything in that crumbled.
Yeah.
And now comedy and science are my gods. So now I'm way more intimidated by like a headliner comic who I know and like respect. Way more terrifying to talk to.
Oh no, I agree, because I wanted to ask you what if you had to replace that within yourself. So comedy and science.
Well, science is my general thing of like logic. Logic's my god.
Same.
If someone makes a lot of sense to me, like if something makes a lot of sense to me, I will believe it. I hate the term that agnostics, like we just don't know. It's like, no, with the evidence we have, we can concur there's no God. If new evidence arises, then we can reconsider that position.
Yeah.
That's where I want to be. Like if we come up with evidence that there is a heavenly being that is controlling stuff, boom, on a dime I will switch.
Yeah, I'm kind of the same way. I just want to, it has to go through, I don't want to say the scientific method, but it's basically got to go through the series of checks to to check
No,
out.
it has to go through the scientific method. There has to be a hypothesis that someone has about this, and then they have to prove that hypothesis through rigorous testing.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
No, I'm with you. I'm with you, man.
I don't like the idea that people hope there's no God. I'm like, I don't care either way. I hope that I still live and breathe and get to live the life I want to live. Mm-hmm. That's way more important to me.
No, absolutely. Because you can focus and control what's happening now. Can't really control what happens afterwards.
No, I'm not.
Sometimes hold on to it.
I don't know. Maybe if I got cancer, my view would change, but I'm not afraid of death. Mm-hmm. That doesn't bother me because when I die, and I don't care about that. Nothing about that changes who I am as a person.
Yeah.
So if you like, I don't like the idea of living with fear of death.
That's fucking good, man. No, that's.
I don't know. Maybe put a gun to my head and I'll change my tune.
Yeah, maybe, but I think overall it's a system that I think is, it's a system of thought that's built to being while still maintaining like compassion for humans, does not allow a type of irrational fear to control your behavior.
Yeah, no, like I don't get the whole idea that people need their the idea that there's a sky thing that's going to punish them if they don't behave right. Mm-hmm. Because really, that's just not true. And I think the best teacher of learning things, the best teacher is pain. It's God, I wish it wasn't true, but it so is.
No, I agree.
It's
the old penny in the light socket thing. Oh, that hurt. So
not going to do it anymore.
Won't do it again. Wow. Okay. So
you have to learn through mistakes and feeling emotional pain or physical pain or anything for making mistakes. Otherwise, you won't learn. That's what stand-up is. Stand-up is going through
stand-up. Going through physical and emotional pain of bombing.
It's emotional pain turned physical sometimes. But most of the time, it's just going through huge emotional pain of putting yourself out there, learning either people don't react to that idea or people don't react to that idea the way you said it.
Yeah. So I have to find the way to present it in a way that's going to make them laugh. I talked to Mike Mercadal, and he told me he told me about, for one of his jokes, he read a article about police hostage negotiators.
Yeah.
And how police hostage negotiators interact with like a suspect helped him
helped him figure out how to couch his bits
in a way that was going to make the audience receptive to it, which I found.
To be fair, when Mike Mercadal's on stage, we all feel a little hostage. He's a big man.
It's very big.
Well, not even big, though, because you're a big dude. You're like 6'7", but he's got the intimidating look of he could have been a mercenary at some point.
I think he would be.
I've made that joke to him. I'm literally like his name is Mike Mercadal, which immediately lends itself to the nickname Merc.
Yeah.
Which is perfect. It just I did a roast of the Joker.
Character assassination?
Yeah, a character assassination. I did that roast, and my first joke was, I don't know why we're roasting the Joker when Mike Mercadal looks like a second-string Batman villain. He looks like DC wanted to rip off the Hunter.
All right. Oh, okay, cool, man. So all right. So God crumbles when you're in college, though, but.
Towards the end of college.
Towards the end of college.
I still believe in God.
And you went to school for theater also.
Yeah.
So tell me a bit about how you get into
theater. Theater actually. So when I was 5, I told my mom we went to Disney World, and I was like, I want to be Goofy. Like, that's who I want to be. I want to be that character. Like, I want to be in a suit. I want to do this as an adult. Mm-hmm. Little did I know that I shouldn't want to do that. But
it's not a good gig.
No, but it's a center of attention gig.
Yes.
So even at 5 years old, I was like, that's what I want to do. And at 7, I've always been a small man. That's just always been a thing about me.
Right. How tall are you, if I can
ask? I'm 5'7" now.
Okay.
So I'm adult height. I am fine. Like I'm a height that most people are like, okay, an adult, passable on most strains of things.
Yes.
But that didn't happen until I was 21.
Okay.
So then, I'd grown slowly. I basically grew up.
But you were always
I was always
shorter?
the smallest. I was always the smallest. My brother is like 6'1". He was taller than me from age 5. From his age 5. So 5 and 7, we were like the same height, and he just kept growing.
Gotcha.
So like at that age, and so at 7, they had me play a 4-year-old in the school play, Because I was like, why don't you ask one of the 4 or 5-year-olds? And like, we want someone who's going to be better at it. I was like, okay. And then I did it. And I did this small part. It was like it was literally called Bach to the Future. And I played young Bach at 5. And I was like, Father, I've written something you want to hear or something. Whatever. It doesn't matter. And I do that. And then at the end of the show, they're introducing all the cast members and stuff. They don't do like a curtain call because it's like a weird church thing. They don't know everything. So they have me at the very end. They're like, oh yeah, and little Bach, Dave, and like I come up there and like literally in my head, I expected only my family to clap for me because like I did it okay. Because self-hatred can begin at any age. But so I expected like my family to clap for me because I'm like they owe me. But everybody clapped. I was like, oh, fuck. All right. I'm 7, but my dick's hard. I guess I'm going to be doing this forever. And I would beg to be on the show every year that they would have, whatever show it was, I would do it. And it got to the point I always wanted to be the funny character. I always knew that was where I wanted to be. And that crystallized when I was 12 and we did Lewis and Clark, the musical.
Okay.
Not to be confused with Patrick J. Riley and Kevin Froehlich's musical, Lewis and Clark, the musical.
Right,
The Great Frontier, whatever they call it. This is a historical one that like has like a bunch of facts in it. And there was one funny guy, and I wanted to be that funny guy, and I didn't get it. They made me the dog, who had his own solo. It was like a thing. It was like a thing.
So you still have your moment.
And I cried, like broke down. I was so upset at not getting this dumb role. Because I was like, I wanted the punchlines. I wasn't mature enough to realize that's what I wanted. But
You wanted that feeling.
That feeling, I was like, oh,
when they all clap for you.
This guy gets laughs. This guy's the funny one. I want to be that guy.
Yeah.
And they gave it to a guy who kind of sucked. No one else wanted to do these plays. It was me and like 2 girls that wanted to do these plays.
Right, and they just had to like
and those 2 girls got Lewis and Clark. Well, no, they just used everybody from the class because there were 13 of us.
Gotcha. Okay.
But I got to be the dog, and like I performed the shit out of that dog. I got as much applause as the leads. I was like, oh yeah, I'm just gonna keep doing this. And then the next year, I was like, this is my moment. 8th grade. I'm the oldest class they have. Ready for this?
Yeah.
And it was literally a Civil War documentary turned musical. It was basically just Ken Jones made a musical.
Right.
He didn't make a musical. I feel like I should clarify. Ken Jones has never made a musical. But it was just
Do you mean Ken Burns?
Ken Burns. You're right. I did mean Ken Burns. I'm so sorry.
It's okay.
But yeah, it was Ken Burns. It was basically just like a Ken Burns musical.
Yeah, just very dry.
Very dry. No one had a character. It was all just facts, and then we would sing, and I hated it. I was so mad at the whole thing of it that I was like, we got to get out of this. We got to do something else. My mom, and we found community theater, and I started doing community theater, and then was wrapped up in that through college.
Right. So you're and you went to school for theater also.
Yeah, I went to school for theater in Cecil College because I was like, oh, I'm going to not make money at that. Oh, I went to Newman College at first in Pennsylvania. Found out they don't have a real theater program.
Yeah.
They had a theater program, but it turns out it was an arts program that literally like you had to do like painting and then you would do production stuff. I was like, oh, this will be cool. I'll learn production stuff because that's how I'll probably make money for the first couple of years doing theater. And it didn't work that way. It was just like, it was just bad. There was no actual real theater focus. So I went to another school and then I went to Cecil and learned theater. But I was like, I'm going to be in debt all my life if I go to a real school doing this.
Okay, yeah.
I don't know. How many times did they yell at you, no one's going to care about your degree, only what you can do?
I never heard that specifically. My college, Towson didn't teach us about they didn't teach us about the business until the last semester.
Really?
Yeah, it was mostly all about just, movement classes and voice classes. They didn't teach you about the business of like types and
they got into
headshots
some of that.
Or anything like that. I didn't know where to get headshots until my last year.
What? Do you know where the place you get headshots? From the photography students who are just trying to build up their own rep. Because you pay them $25 and they're like, oh shit, I made money in photography. Yeah. All artists are gullible. That's...
It's true. Well, at an early age, it's the, bit of pay favors kind of economy. I didn't think about it at that point, but my first
photography students will always help you because they want their thing to look good.
Yeah, exactly. So
you work as a team of just hey, I'll scratch your back, you scratch mine.
Which I think is a lot of art. I definitely feel like that's a bit of
No, it's crazy
comedy.
how much that is. Oh no, comedy. Like if comedians ever developed a sense of self-worth, comedy would become a way better employee, like employment thing. But also so many people would drop out immediately.
Right.
Because they'd be like, oh fuck, I'm supposed to be making this much money. I'm not making this much money. I'm getting out of it.
Yeah, exactly.
You have to have such low self-worth to do comedy.
Yeah, and you've got to want to like that whole thing of, and it's probably overly romanticized, and it's by someone who probably didn't want to pay a comedian, but the idea of like you'd want to
Do it even if you were doing it for free.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, which is I guess that's what they call real artistic passion if you're gonna
but to a degree it is, though.
But then at what point does that bleed into
Do you know
people that can take advantage?
Do you know who
of
I think
that?
it's doing perfectly?
Who?
Ari Shaffir.
Yeah.
Ari Shaffir tries to make $40,000 a year doing comedy.
Yeah, that's about what I would want to do.
But that's what I'm saying. But he never does a project he doesn't want to do. Mm-hmm. He's established a following.
Yes.
And just does the projects he wants to do and thinks are interesting, and performs in the way he wants at clubs he wants.
And people that like him
will find him. Yeah.
Find him. Yes.
And that's the thing is that like when he stopped liking his podcast as much, he stopped doing it as much. Mm-hmm. And so he's established, I think, what is a perfect career of artistic integrity.
No, I agree with you. And there's a couple of other people I could.
Oh yeah, no, there are other people
cite
like
with
Chad
that.
Daniels does, but Chad Daniels wants more.
Yeah, Chad Daniels or
Man, we're getting
Doug
deep
Benson.
into Doug.
Doug Benson kind of is his own guy.
I don't know. Do you think Doug Benson gets tired of getting high?
I don't think he does.
I don't know.
I
feel like
think that man could smoke pot and tell jokes and read tweets for the rest of his life.
yeah, you know what though? That is the thing about his albums. Dropped in quality. Oh man, calling him out.
Oh man,
I don't.
There'll be a hard get now.
Yeah, it'll be a hard get. Oh my god, yeah. I wonder if he uses like Tinder or Bumble or anything.
Maybe.
I know some celebrities do it. It's crazy.
Yeah. I imagine like any of those. Well, yeah, like I can't imagine how you could be have a high profile and be on Tinder and be on Tinder.
Why not?
Unless that's just part of your Uber. Like part of what I think.
Like I think Hannibal was on Tinder.
No, yeah, I know he was because just recently he and
did that-
Eric Andre.
yeah, no, I saw that. That was
did
amazing.
This thing where they did.
Yeah, link that in the episode. That's one of the funniest videos I've ever seen.
Okay, I'll make sure to put a link to that.
Vanity Fair had Eric Andre and Hannibal Buress switch Tinders and then hit on girls as each other, and it was the best.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to link that because was hysterical.
It was so fucking funny. But
Yeah.
but so that's what I'm saying is like, and oh shit, I had a point. I totally forgot it.
Was it about comedy, religion?
Oh no, Hannibal kept trying to hook up with my ex roommate's girlfriend.
Oh really?
Yeah, and it was so funny because she was just like, "No, we're just friends. It's cool. We're just friends." And I'm like, "You're a curvy white girl. I guarantee you, he wants to fuck you." And she's an attractive woman. It wasn't like it was like, but she was like she eventually moved in with us after the first year. Like we
Okay.
had a bad roommate, and then we switched it with her. And we were talking, and then she was like, "Yeah, Hannibal. Like I have his number." And he hits me up when he's in town. I'm like, "Yeah, because he's trying to fuck you. Watch. Mention that you have a boyfriend and see if he keeps talking to you."
And did she?
Yeah. She was like, "Yeah, me and my boyfriend would love to come." And then radio silence.
Uh-huh.
She was like, "That's just gross. Why did you ruin Hannibal for me?"
The people who are gonna appreciate this are gonna appreciate the shit out of it. But
God,
yeah.
I've never realized exactly, like, you never realize exactly how radicalized you've gotten, so you start spewing your whole propaganda on one podcast.
No, this is it. But this is exactly what I want. I want to,
No,
kinda
this is
paint the
pure,
full
unfiltered
picture.
May, yeah.
Well,
Short of my nerdy side, I feel like...
Well, no, because I want to get into a couple,
Okay, yeah,
couple
yeah,
things
yeah.
before we got about like 10 minutes or so.
Oh my God, well, let's do a speed round.
Cool.
Of nerdy side. Because you can see my tower of board games.
Yeah. So here's, I kind of want to know did you start comedy in Philadelphia?
So technically, I started in Delaware at 20, but I went to technically I started it at 16. I did a high school talent show where I got disqualified for using the word ass. Because I was a real edgy comedian even then. I described as the chemistry teacher being terrible, which he was. But I described he had periodic tables up his ass and got disqualified from the competition. Because, I'm a regular Kinnison.
Yeah, this is your Bill Hicks being pulled from Letterman moment.
At 16, yeah. But I did it once then, and then I didn't really do it much after that until I was 20. And then I did it a couple times when I was 20. But then I got the bar I was doing it at. It was like a terrible. Everybody was bad. But I was doing all right because everybody was terrible.
Yeah.
And literally this woman was like, let me buy you a drink. That was funny. And I was like, oh, no, I'm 20. I can't drink. Because I wanted to keep coming back and doing comedy.
Yeah.
The bartender looks at me, goes and pulls me outside and was like, hey, man, we can't have you here. You're 20. I'm like, I just turned down alcohol. I'm like, whatever you're worried about happening, I'm not doing it.
Right.
And then I didn't do it for a little bit. I was like, oh, I guess I got to wait till I'm 21 to do comedy.
Uh-huh.
And then I started doing it when I was 21 in Philly. Yeah.
In Philadelphia. And what was the scene like in Philadelphia? I imagine it was Helium
aggressive.
a thing?
Helium was tough to get on.
Yeah, I've
because
heard
they have
that.
an open mic that you had to sign up for. At first, it was in person, then it was online. And strangely enough, if you signed up in person, you had a better. The in-person one was easier to get on. Online, they just kind of like picked the people they liked, and then a couple of random new people to bring in more audience.
Okay.
But it was a lot of open mic. There were a lot of open mics there. But like the first one I ever did was Noche, and that was considered possibly. There are two bad open mic. There are two of the worst open mics in Philly, and Noche was one of them. This other one was Lickety Split, which no longer is. The restaurant went under. And I performed almost every Sunday at Lickety Split. I loved going there because it was so bad. It was a black room on South Street in Philadelphia. I say black room because majority of the audience was black and majority of the comics were black.
Right.
And so I would go up there and I would it taught me how to like work in that kind of room. Because
where you can't just kind of go up there and like, oh, what do I want to talk about? Where you kind of
you have to
be confident
have an act
and do your
and
shit.
be confident. Yeah. You also can't make gay jokes, which is a thing I learned.
like homophobic jokes or just mention gay at all?
So I used to do jokes. I'm straight, but I used to make jokes about being gay because I found it funny because they were funny jokes. Like, it was like jokes like I was reading at the religious because of course, but it was like I was reading the Bible and one of the verses is whatever one sows, one shall reap. So I've been sowing a lot of blowjobs. And boy, have they been coming back in spades. Yeah, it's a funny joke.
Yeah.
Boy, would everyone in that crowd just immediately tighten up. They were so upset at that joke. They were like, if I laugh at that, that means I'm gay. I can't do it. And I was like, yeah.
Right.
But that's a whole nother thing. Yeah. It's, yeah. No, I don't want to get into that.
Right. So you kind of, you kind of.
But I learned, and Noche was one of the worst rooms. I almost quit comedy after doing that the first time.
Oh, really?
Because it was just so bad. I signed up third on the list. They never did the list in order. They would just put their friends up first. Philly does that a lot. There's no buckets. It's just whoever they like, they'll put up first because they want to have the best quote unquote show.
Yeah.
And so they would just put up all their friends first and then put up other people. And then I was pretty much in the last group often because then I would get shit. I would feel mad. I would feel like hurt about it and shit on them for doing it. So like, well, fuck you. We're just going to put you last because we can.
Yeah. I never encountered anything that bad in Baltimore, but I once did a mic at a place called Penguins in Arbutus, and the host heckled me.
I love when the host heckles.
The other comics heckled me, and then when I got off stage, they were like, "Oh man, good stuff, really well written," which I still don't understand to this day. I don't know.
That feels like they saw stand-up comedy and are like, this is how it's supposed to be done. Because they're like heckling you and being a shitty person. They're like, yeah, good stuff, well written. Because they're like, oh, that's the two sides of comedy. If you can't handle us heckling him, then really is he a comic? But also, well written stuff.
Exactly.
No, Philly never did that for me. I felt like part of the reason I moved to New York is because I felt like I was friend zoned by Philly comedy. Because I would go to other places. I would go to Maryland. I'd go to New Jersey. I'd go to like places outside of Philadelphia, and I would do great. And then I would go to Philadelphia, and I feel like nobody cares how I do. Nobody respects me. I'm just going to get out of this because I feel like it's hurting me as a comedian.
Right. And then that's when you moved to New York.
That's when I moved to New York. Yeah.
And that's been good for
It's
you?
been amazing. It's been amazing.
Fantastic.
It's been like, I feel like I have like a group of people I can talk to. I feel like I've grown as a comic so much.
Yeah. New York will do that too.
Yeah, well, you start learning what premises don't work or what are bad, what's good. Yeah, and all that stuff. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't regret that for a second. But like, do you know what the weird thing? The thing that gave me the most confidence in life?
What's that?
Because LARPing. Because
I was going to ask you about that. This is how I want to close.
Great. Well, look, I'm glad I'm glad I could lead you into it.
No, this is good. It's always good when I can just kind of sit back and I don't have to do
Too much pressuring. Yeah.
yeah.
Well, so high school, I entered in 4-7 as a freshman. Still a nerd, still weird. I went to art club for a while. Art club was fun because I'm not artistic at all, but I'm good at organizing. I could organize. Yeah. So I would organize stuff for them and like do stuff for them in that way. But it taught me how to be like enjoy being a weirdo.
Yeah.
And then a friend of mine from a church youth group, of course, because that's where my friends either came from, art club or youth group, was like, hey, I do this thing in University of Delaware where we hit each other with foam weapons. I'm like, that sounds awesome. I'm so in. And then I looked at it. I was like, this is too much effort. I can't do this. This is way too much work. And then we waited a year, and then we watched the movie 300, back before Zack Snyder was the hated being he is today.
Right.
Back when he was just a cash grab money guy. Actually, he's still just that. But anyway.
But back when everyone liked that one movie he made.
Dude, 300 changed my life. 100%. Because we saw it. We saw the midnight showing of it because my best friend was a history dork, so he loved the Battle of Thermopylae. So like, yeah, we got to see this movie. It's going to be great. So we saw it. We watched it. And it like we were fighting each other literally with wood weapons. We called my brother's now wife. It was his girlfriend at the time. We're like, Jules, you got to help us. We need you to bring 100 Persians or 1,000 Persians because we need them to invade our garage because we're going to defend them off because we did the math and we had 3 people versus 1,000, which is 300 versus a million or whatever.
300. Yeah, like 3 million or something like that.
I guess it might have been 10. It might have needed to be 10,000, but whatever. We were young. We were not great at math. And then I was like, wait, I remember this thing my friend told me about. So we looked it up. We built weapons. We did all this stuff. We went through all the effort to build this thing. And then we went to Philadelphia to fight. And then we fought, got our asses kicked a bunch of times. Because it started in Maryland in the 70s.
Yeah.
And now I did it for pretty much 10 years.
10 years.
Yeah, well, I started doing it when I was 17. I'm almost 27, so like 9 years.
Okay.
And I was doing it hardcore for 6 of them. And then for the past 3 or 4 years, I've been very lax because comedy took over a lot of my life.
Yeah.
But yeah, I would do that all the time. And it taught me confidence in being a nerd.
Right. You were able to embrace that side of yourself.
Yeah, because for all the weird stuff I'm into now, LARPing was pretty much the... LARPing taught me how to be confident in it. Because, like, if someone's, like, talks about board games, I'm very confident in how much I like board games now. Because that is an awkward thing. Nothing will make a pussy drier unless you're confident in it.
Exactly. Exactly. The same way you go into the black room with your act and confidence.
Yeah.
The same way talking about owning and feeling comfortable. You
just have to own it. Yeah, absolutely. If you feel comfortable, it'll be amazing. And it's a gateway weird. Because once you're like accepting of one weird thing, the amount of weird things you'll get into is, you'll get into so many of them because you don't care anymore. Because you're like, yeah, if I like it, I'll keep doing it. Like if I was into bondage, I would just be into bondage and own it.
Yeah.
Personally, for me, I don't need to spend 40 minutes with an erection trying to figure out how to tie up a lady. There's nothing for that for me.
Right. Exactly. But then again, that's also if you were into that and then owning that, that's better than like. I guess that's better than like trying to hide it and then bring it up later and then that could lead to some
that's way worse. Totally. And the thing
whereas if you bring it up right away and then it might repel a lot of people, but the person who's like me too, then that's going to be a much more satisfying
absolutely
kind of
or
connection.
even the people though who aren't into it but they're still just like they're enjoying, like if you're confident about it, people just accept it.
Yeah.
Because you're just like, no, this is a thing I do, or this is a thing I did, and I was really into it, and I like doing it, and I'm not going to apologize for being into it.
Yeah.
Because it was fun for me. It was a great time for me. So that's all I can say about it. Like, it's like, it made me who I am today.
that confidence got you on? Do you think that got you on stage as a comedian?
No, I was doing stand up before. Or no, I guess I wasn't. I wasn't doing stand up beforehand. I don't know if that's what brought me on stage. No, the constant need for attention brought me on stage.
Mm-hmm.
I know that. But the way I got into it, the way I talk about myself and the way I talk about stories that I've had, that would be embarrassing for most people. Don't faze me because I'm like, this is even the worst of it.
Yeah.
Because I've learned how to be confident in how weird I am.
And that's the same kind of freedom as when you realized when the hierarchy of your church fell.
Yeah, exactly. It's the same kind of thing. It's just like, oh, hey, this is who I am. Let's build this up as a building as opposed to trying to fool everybody with a facade of who I could be.
That's fucking great, man.
Thanks.
Dude, that's great. Thank you for doing this.
Dude, thank you for having me. This was great.
Awesome.
All right, thanks for tuning in, everybody. That's the show for the week. Check the description for the YouTube video that me and Pickles, Dave Piccolomini, talked about where Hannibal Buress and Eric Andre take over each other's Tinder accounts. And again, I'll be doing my solo show at the Unicorn September 9th at 8 p.m. And as always, you can check my website, willcareyisfunny.com. That's Will, C-A-R-E-Y, isfunny.com. And hopefully I'll see you on the 9th, and I'll see you next week between awesome and disaster. Take care, everybody.